I couldn't stop a girl from being harassed in a public place. This happened a few months ago. It was late at night and I was walking from my friend's house. There's a usual route I take which is always very quiet. As I was walking down the road, I saw a couple at the corner. The girl was crying because her boyfriend, I presume, was beating her badly. I don't know what I was thinking, but it just sent chills down my spine and I away. It wasn't until 5 minutes later I realized what I could have done. Please note I am a very thin guy and have no strength, so I really had no chance of getting into a fight. I didn't have the guts to walk back and was just terrified. I keep thinking about it almost every day. I hope she is fine. Thin guys can call 911. I understand not wanting to confront the guy, but why couldn't you call the cops? Just last night I watched a case where a wife got murdered in her garage after being dragged there. A neighbor heard the fight but didn't call the police, and only learned later that the woman had been murdered, and a timely phone call may have prevented it. This exact situation has ended with the Good Samaritan dead so many times. There's a reason any police officer will tell you domestic calls are the most dangerous. Don't be too hard on yourself. You shouldn't expect yourself to turn into a superhero when called upon. And the unfortunate truth of the situation is that a lot of times the victim will defend her abuser. Here and now you're facing two people angry at you. Next time, call the cops. Tell them what you see. But don't turn another person's personal problems into a possible life-altering altercation for you. Edit words are hard. I sometimes watch this TikTok streamer who rides around Los Angeles at all hours of the day-night. One time on a live stream he witnessed a transient man assault his GF and he chose to turn around and help. Then they both jumped and robbed him. Yeah, it's a shitty situation to be in, but sometimes they want you to be the hero as an easy mark. Should have called the police. You should have called the cops. You are not expected to be a hero, but you are expected to call the police. In my former apt complex, a guy was beating up his GF, and someone knocked on their door. BF answered the door and killed the guy. You don't get involved in domestic abuse events. Cops don't like going to them either. So don't feel guilty. Get somewhere safe and call the cops. It's good you didn't physically intervene. You could have gotten injured. What you could have done is called 911 and maybe secretly filmed them from a safe space if he was hurting her. Filming people without consent is illegal, but if it's to catch abuse, then you should be okay. This post seriously makes me wonder how many men refuse to help women because they think they're supposed to be Superman instead of just calling 911. You didn't have the guts to call 911? My mate intervened in a situation like this once. The girlfriend turned on him and started to crack him across the head with her stiletto-heeled shoe. Lesson learned. Next time, call dibble and observe from a distance until they arrive. This is just possibly your subconscious. The goal is to make sure that you make it out without harm alive. Once you reach safety, other things can then be considered. Until this point, you did nothing wrong. Your brain did what it was meant to do. Protect you. All that is required for evil to succeed is for good men to do nothing. Men love to go on and on about how they protect women and women need protection, but the only thing that women need protection from is other men, and then when it comes down to it and a woman actually needs help, a man doesn't do anything. I hope she is fine after watching her be brutally beaten and doing absolutely nothing. Okay, LMAO. You wouldn't have even had to give the police your name to get them to show up with a simple phone call. What you mean is I hope this woman in a literal potential life or death situation had the strength to help herself because I couldn't be bothered to. Might seem harsh. And it probably is. I just have a really hard time sympathizing with this. Do you want someone to tell you your actions were okay? They weren't. You fucked up pretty bad. Do you have a phone? SMH. You gotta get beat up once in your life. At least it would have been worth a broken nose. Next time just attack full send. I'm sorry, but I am a 5'2" woman and I would have tried to help her. It's just not in me to walk away from something like that. Street fights are never worth it, however when safe you could have called the old bill. Call 911 if something like this ever happens again. Call it in FFS. I saw a woman get punched in the middle of downtown in our city. My boyfriend yelled at me when I ran over to her. I rushed her into our Uber and got her to a safe space. I'm 5'5" and 115 pounds soaking wet. You don't have to be a large person to provide safety. You were scared. And that's completely normal. Fight, flight, freeze is totally real. And it's not your fault which one your body decides to do. Especially because you noticed afterward when you could rationally think, I would not feel bad. You are a good person who wanted to do the right thing. But you saw something shocking and frightening late at night and your brain needed to protect itself first again. Very, very normal. If you see something again like that, I would call the police. Even if you did know how to fight. You don't know if they have a gun. Be safe out there at night, friend. You never know. Coulda still called the cops, dude. Cheap shots don't apply to domestic abuse, my brother. Sneak up and sleep him from behind, shushing face, oncoming fist, medium light skin tone collision. Never get between a couple that's fighting. Don't care how bad it is. Call the cops. The woman could turn on you, just ask quickly as you wanting to help her out. Sorry, but I will not put myself in those situations that could turn life-threatening. Couples can be immature and animalistic at times. Fuck all that. I hate people who act so pompous and say they would have done the right thing if it had been them in the situation. Guess what? It wasn't. It wasn't your job to intervene physically with these two. And calling 911 would have been the best idea. But none of us were there. I've become another victim when trying to mitigate something like this. As other commenters said, both sides of the couple turned on me. I think you've learned something here though. I hope so. Call 911 if someone's life is in danger. I've seen people tell stories where they witness domestic abuse and when they step in, the one being hit gets mad at them for trying to get involved. It's okay that you didn't want a chance being beat up by that guy. Next time you can call 911 as a way to help, but don't beat yourself up over this one incident. You were afraid to step in, as most people would be, and running is a reaction to fear. Bruh, for what it's worth, I have a mate who was in this situation. Saved the girl. But what happened is the girl and the guy ended up turning against my mate and saying he was the aggressor, when he was only trying to help a woman in distress. Toxic relationships can be wild rides, mate. Good thing you didn't interfere. There's a good possibility that they both would have started beating you. Not everyone is a hero, dude. Well, I once tried to do the honorable thing when I saw a man slapping his girlfriend. I stepped up to him and said, "You like hitting women? Huh? You're a real big guy. Huh? Why don't you try that on a man?" Well, folks, I ended up getting my ass kicked. Apparently he was more than capable of beating on a man. Or I just really suck at fighting. To add insult to injury, the girlfriend also kicked me while I was down. That's what being a good guy gets you, folks. It ain't worth it. If you did anything to help, she would go back to him anyway. Just go about your way.